So theoretically, we have all the data we need to start answering some of these questions. Um, and I guess actually now that I went through that, I could have used my fancy term crosswalk instead of franchise name, but franchise name probably makes a little bit more sense. A crosswalk, by the way, is a connection between two disparate sets of data where you can map their IDs across it, so I can know that Tony Lowe in the employee system is the same Tony Lowe in the student system, for example, because I was a student at DePaul 20 some years ago. Um, just for a brief amount of time. I didn't finish my degree there. So, um, the organizational structure here um, that we're looking for is you can now see I actually have this team data that I already defined for myself, and I'm actually hiding that data down here with this variable. So the first thing I'm going to do actually to clean this up, I'm going to take out my print line here, and I'm actually going to take out this team data one I built for myself down below, and I'm going to use the one up above. Now, since I defined it team data and everything the same, which is actually habit, I didn't plan that. Again, I wrote this code a month ago, but if you get in good consistent habits, you name things well and you follow along. But now I'm filling in team data with all that information I have, and I can use team data to be able to answer some of the questions. The thing about answering big questions is, in general, you want to fill your map structures as you get the data. You don't want to post-process maps if you don't have to. So there's some things we can figure out across all teams. Like for instance, what's the win count for all teams? What's the salary for all teams? What's the total attendance for all teams? Um, we have to be careful though, because as we just saw in our data, sometimes this can be thrown off because I don't necessarily have salary, data for each of the years. And let me tell you, I didn't realize that when I built the example. So I'm actually going to ignore that for 2017, 18, 19 data and 20 data because I don't think the test cases will work if I make those exceptions right now. But there's a good reason why you should look at your data and clean your data set, which is a separate task than coding your data set, and understand that the data coming in makes sense. Because in this case, I think what's going to happen is our numbers will be off a little bit. Um, but what we're trying to get to is essentially these maps to answer these questions. Let me tell you how these answer each of the questions below, because that's a separate task than filling them. So let me scroll. Well, you know what? I can actually do this in another interesting way. I'm going to go to Window, um, Show View. I think there's an outline view that I never look at. But it's going to be useful in this case. The outline view tells you all of the attributes and all the methods that are part of your class. And I never look at this because I just scroll through it. I'm coding it, but it will be very helpful in this case. So the first question we have is get the average cost per win. And so the average cost per win is basically the salary total divided by the win count of all teams that have this data. Um, then the cost per win rankings, sorry, I clicked on it so it all went away. The cost per win rankings is basically saying, give me a list of all the team info um, of what is the um, best, what is the ranking, sorry, for all the teams for a given year. So if we go look at this, it's the year is the name of that variable that's coming in. So if I say 2019, give me all the rankings for the teams for that year. It'll tell me which team was spent the best and least and whatnot. So that's going to be something I'm going to have to post process. And then the best cost per win all time. Well, that's going to be going through all the years, all the plays, to see who the max is inside of there. Um, and so I can use this data to go and formulate the best per win. And then the worst cost per win is going to be the opposite of that. And then the best cost per win all time. Um, a win total all time. This actually gives us a map which gives by year which team spent the most or least for each of these. So these are the types of questions we're going to go off and answer. Um, and so some of this is going to help us. These items right here, I can actually track as I'm reading the data in to some degree. Um, because it's faster than going through and doing it post processing it later. But some of these other answers, I can't do it as far at the time I'm reading these things in, because I have to read the data in 3 different files. So I don't have the salary information until I've gone and done all the rest of it. So until I filled the salary information, I can't do some of it. So in theory, I could get all the team information, and then as I read the salary data in, I could go and start processing this. Or I can wait till it's all done and do it one more time. That strategy really depends on the amount of data you're processing. If you have, in our case, like a few thousand lines of code, it doesn't matter the order. A few thousand lines of data, I should say. Doesn't matter the order. I don't have hundreds of millions of teams and years of baseball to process through, which I might in a big data situation. In those scenarios, I want to do as much of the processing by touching the data one time and only one time as possible. In our case, I can also post process that later on. But there is some stuff I can do each time. So for example, I can say the variable up there, salary total, I can add into that the team's salary every time, but not the whole salary really. I should be just adding in the salary. So if I want to know what the salary for everybody, every time I add it to a team, I can also add it to the salary total. Again, I can also post process this. It's your choice. I can loop through it later on. Um, Let me give you a little bit of piece of advice. In the COVID data, there's no need to post process it. You can do, in the COVID problem, you can do all the processing as part of the constructor and read the file one time and process all the data, and you can do that for most of the questions. All right, so I can do this here, and actually can do the total attendance as well up here. So as I get the attendance and I set the attendance, if it has attendance here, what I can say is total attendance plus equals, in this I can do it by getting the team attendance, so that we don't have to parse the int twice. I'm not actually adding it in as a total attendance, it's just setting the value, so that's why I can do it here, where here I'm actually adding it in plus the salary each time, so I would be duplicating numbers. I'd have way bigger number than I thought. But theoretically, this gets me my total salary, total attendance, and that would allow me to possibly solve my, oh, I need the win total as well, excuse me. So set wins, so I can do win count is equal to team plus equal to team dot get wins. By the way, if you don't know what plus equal is, it's the same as saying win count is equal to win count plus. So I've actually gotten the habit of doing plus equals, which I never used to do, because I've been doing a lot of totaling exercises like this, and this is okay. This isn't the worst, but it does read a little bit more familiar if you're new to win count equals to win count plus, but that's what plus equal essentially means right here. All right, so let's go ahead and let me just make sure I didn't break anything. We'll run this. Okay, I didn't break anything. Um, and let me come down then to average cost per win. So this should be total of salary total divided by win count. That should be for all teams. What's the salary count divided by the win count? Oh, this is going to end up being when I do a division, it's going to be a floating point number, a double, and so I need to cast that back to an integer. I just don't care about the decimal points, so that's why I defined it that way. All right, so that's one of the simple returns. I think that's the only one that I have like that. I didn't do that same thing for attendance. So let's see if I actually answered this question. Maybe I get my first green here. Um, oh, I might not have a test for that. Uh, Nope, I guess I don't have a test for that one. So maybe this is right. I don't know. We'll have to see. So I guess I'm going to have to go start filling in some of the rest of this to be able to get that going. So let's go ahead and pick up that in the next one, but have a little bit better feel of how I'm starting to populate some of this data, and then I'm going to do the next one from there in the next video.